Hello everyone, welcome to the Scumdogs Kennel. I'm your host, Chris Williams, and in today's Cryptid Corner mini episode, I have a couple of more very unsettling stories, folks. One involving a black-eyed baby, and another, a boy sees a red dragon. Both stories are very intriguing, as I usually say, folks, but this time, they really are. So let's get into the first article. Black-eyed baby encountered in California Safeway supermarket, and read all about it. In March 2015, a respected attorney shopping at a Safeway in Eureka, California, locked eyes with a blonde-haired infant, only to watch its bright blue eyes shift into solid black. The chilling transformation left her shaken, questioning reality, and forever haunted by the memory of the black-eyed baby. Hello, I'm a doctor practicing in Eureka, California for the past 40 years. When I'm in my office late, I try to break up the monotony of the massive paperwork that we doctors are now required to complete. From various programs, including Coast to Coast, I've heard stories about black-eyed children. Honestly, I would have preferred hearing about ghosts or UFOs, as black-eyed children didn't seem plausible to me. I received my first doctorate in physics and became a physician so that I could resume my own theoretical research on dimensional periodic functions, which is rather tedious and time-consuming, but may be significant for multiverse theory. One technique I've employed over the years is asking patients who are fearful of needles or other procedures, what is the strangest thing you've ever seen? In my experience, once a patient starts talking about a story, their chance of feeling nauseous decreases significantly. Here's a story I heard. One of my internal medicine colleagues sent his wife to me for a procedure. The patient, who was an attorney, was quite nervous. She even told my assistant that she really dreaded going to the dentist. While I was preparing her for surgery, I asked her about the strangest thing she'd ever seen. She responded, "You wouldn't believe me. I'm not even sure I believe it myself." Intrigued, I pressed her for the story, and eventually she agreed to share it with me. It was March of 2015 when she found herself in a local Safeway, pushing a cart like everyone else. Being left-handed, she would take items with her left hand and place them into her cart. Suddenly, she heard the sound of a baby cooing, a baby that was in a cart parallel to hers. She looked up to see a blonde-haired baby with blue eyes of indeterminate sex, approximately 8 months old. She smiled and said, "Hi, baby." At that moment, the baby made eye contact with her, and she was taken aback as the baby's eyes suddenly turned a deep, opaque black. Not just the irises, but the scalea as well. Feeling a rush of fear from this transformation and a strange pull from the child's eyes, she quickly broke eye contact. The baby smiled back at her, showing its newly erupted 2 front teeth while she stood frozen in place. The mother and child then continued down the aisle, turning right at the end. As the baby looked back at her, its eyes returned to their standard blue. After the encounter, she went to the end of the aisle, turned left, checked out, and returned home, fearing she might be having a psychotic break. I asked her a few follow-up questions. Question: did you see the mother? Answer: no, but she was a ballet dancer, thin, had long blonde hair, and wore jeans. I couldn't make out any facial features. Question: have you ever heard of the black-eyed children? Answer: no, I would never ascribe to that paranormal stuff, she replied. Even though she said she doesn't ascribe to paranormal stuff, she must have at least have heard of the black-eyed children to make that statement. Either way, very strange. But let's finish off this article and talk a little more about it. To clarify, this patient is not a drinker and has no history of drug use other than some THC in college. I'm unsure what to make of this story. She is a respected attorney in our small community and is married to a physician. Throughout our conversation, nothing in her demeanor suggested drug abuse or mental instability. An ophthalmologist colleague mentioned he had heard a similar story but didn't know of any conditions that could cause black scalea except for trauma. As Rod Sherling used to say, submitted for your approval, JF. JF's story is very intriguing, folks. Was this perhaps, a black-eyed kid baby, perhaps? And what about the parent? Was it maybe one of the women in black? Because it's been said that, along with the men in black, they're all connected. So maybe there's a segment of the population that isn't entirely human, perhaps even alien hybrids. Maybe that would explain what, this attorney saw, perhaps. Either way, very interesting. But let's move on to the next story about a giant flying red dragon childhood memory in Hamilton, New Jersey, and read exactly what this guy saw when he was a kid and how, it probably affected him for the rest of his life. Let's get into the article now and read the entire story. In the mid-1980s, a boy riding his bike near Nottingham baseball field in Hamilton, New Jersey, witnessed a massive red dragon gliding silently overhead. The creature shimmered in the sunlight, exhaled a blast of heat, and left him stunned, convinced he had seen something extraordinary that no one else would believe. Let's get into the full account now. Hi, I just read your post about the dragon sighted over southern New Jersey, and it really took me by surprise because I had a similar experience in the mid-80s when I was about 10 years old. It was a spring day before noon. I was biking around a local ballpark near my house, Nottingham baseball field in Hamilton, New Jersey. There were no games scheduled for that day, so I was alone as far as I could tell. I often visited a play area and pond by the woods when I was bored, hoping to find other kids to play with. While biking halfway there, I looked up at the clouds and sky and saw what I thought was a plane coming from the south. There's a small airstrip nearby, and sometimes cool biplanes would fly by. My favorite was a Red Baron style plane, so I thought that it was because of the color. I stopped and turned to watch, ready to wave, because that's what kids do. But when the plane gave its wings a single long flap, I realized it wasn't a plane at all. It was a dragon. There's no doubt in my mind it was a dark red, and I could see the sun shimmering off its scales as it got closer. Needless to say, I didn't wave. I felt frozen in place, dumbstruck, a little scared, and incredibly excited. The dragon was a giant, flying about the same height as the biplanes, and it didn't make any sound as it glided overhead. It resembled a classical European dragon, though its proportions were slightly different. When it was right above me, I felt a blast of heat, which I assumed was its fiery breath. I was absolutely buzzing with excitement, looking around frantically for anyone else who might be nearby, but the ball fields were empty, and no one was outside in the nearby houses. It continued flying at a steady pace, and just before disappearing over the treetops to the north, it gave another slow flap of its massive wings. I turned around and sped out of the park, hoping to find someone who had seen it too. However, there was no one. Everyone was inside their homes at that early hour. When I got home, I realized that no one would believe me, so I never told my parents. They would have thought I was making it up. Instead, I told my older sister, but she said I probably saw a hang glider or a fancy plane. It was such an unusual sighting that I never followed up on it further. It's nice to see that dragons are still flying over New Jersey, though. Thank you for all that you do. Your blog is fantastic, D. D's story is also pretty amazing, isn't it, folks? And along with JF's story, both accounts detailed encounters with these bizarre entities, and they seem to basically be increasing all the time now. I mean, in Southern California, people are seeing dragons and pterodactyls, and that means, well, that people are indeed basically witnessing things they thought were extinct or thought were never real to begin with. And this account with basically this dragon in New Jersey, along with others, means that these entities aren't just situated, well, in California. They're being seen on both sides of the country, folks. And with the count with the black-eyed baby with JF here, well, people are seeing these entities, these alien entities, that most people would basically just think if they did exist, they'd be more secretive, right? But no, people are seeing them. They're just appearing before people, and no one can really get an idea why that is. All we can really say, folks, is that I think that these stories aren't bunk. I don't think that these people are lying. Undoubtedly, some of these stories are hoaxes, but I don't think all of them are. I think they are genuinely real accounts of people encountering things they just don't understand. Now, the black-eyed baby, it could very well be maybe that was a mistake. Not because she didn't see a black-eyed baby. No, because what she saw might have been implanted in her mind. Maybe someone with some sort of telepathic power put that thought in her head, and this is what she saw, perhaps. Or it could be, well, I mentioned the women black earlier, folks, because remember, the mother of this black-eyed baby, our witness here didn't get a direct look at her face, and that alone is strange to me, folks. It almost feels like that there was something up with the mother just as much as with the child, but that's just me, folks. Either way, we're at the end, so please go subscribe to my YouTube channel, Read Comics That Are Bad For You. You can use the YouTube link down below in the descriptions or the chat to go subscribe to me. Hit that like button for me. Make sure you're still subscribed. Leave some comments down below. Hit that bell for notifications. Make sure to hit the part of the bell that'll give you all feature notifications. And please, share this video out. I'm Chris Williams from the Scumdogs Kennel. Thank you all for joining me. I'll be back again tomorrow with another great video, so be sure to come back again then. Till next time, folks, I'll see you all again soon.